So what happens when you're in the room but not in the conversation? Like, I remember walking into a conference room on a Monday morning, 15 minutes ahead of time, only to find out that two of my colleagues are talking about football and the football score. Now, I was kind of in heaven because I could hang with them. I knew all the teams, I knew all the stats, but then I wonder, what was it like for people who didn't know the teams, didn't know the stats, and could care less about the football game?
I think that's Lori.
Yes, I was going to say that was me. So that is not a feeling of being very included. And I know when, for me personally, my way of dealing with those situations, because I was not going to sit there and not be included. So what I would do is I would gently pivot the conversation. So if they were talking about football, rather than just say, don't talk about football, it's not inclusive, what I would say is, hey, I didn't see the game yesterday, but I heard there was a great Snickers commercial on the, on the game. Did you guys see it? What did you think about it? Twitter's all abuzz about it. What does everyone think? And it was a way of, without them even realizing it, I pivoted the conversation and made it more inclusive. And again, we were an advertising and marketing company. It was okay to talk about advertising.
For me, that was Game of Thrones, because I didn't watch Game of Thrones. So Monday morning in the office, I wanted to talk about Sunday Night Football. But people were talking about Game of Thrones, I'd feel left out. And maybe somebody else in the room did too. So if you're in that room, there's a way that you can just sort of look around and say, hey, what did you do last night?
And I
Angelique?
And I think it's really important to be in the pre-conversation, because the fact that then you're more in the flow and the meeting actually starts. Because the fact that if you're sitting there not doing your own thing, the meeting starts, then you're like, gosh, where do I fit in and how do I jump in? And everyone's already going. So I think it actually, the pre-meeting completely can set the tone for the actual meeting.
Mm-hmm. It also gives you credibility, right? Like we had some of the younger women tell us that they felt like they're starting a running race from a cold start while everybody else is in a kind of nice warm jog. And they don't have the credibility to participate, and they're trying to figure out where to break in.
I'd like to put a sports analogy in there. In the story about sports analogies, you put a sports analogy
I wanted
in.
to see if you could follow it.
I got that.
That you do.
I got that whole thing. Good.
Angelique, what you got?
I was going to say, it's so important for the leader of the room to realize who's not participating in the conversation, because you can just think that it doesn't matter. It's just the pre-chit chat or whatever. My strategy was I used to try to get there early and start a conversation that everyone could be in before anyone could start the football conversation. But as the leader, you should really be paying attention to that and make sure that everyone's included.
This is Cie's best advice, I think.
Well, I have so much, but yes. No, but I think getting there early, but I think the other thing is, I think there's a lot of times I see women thinking, they're going to be productive and I'm going to get a couple more emails done or some text, and I think they're actually being productive while people are talking about the Patriots, and really they would be better served to figure out how to get in the conversation in a variety of ways versus thinking they're being productive. So I think that's a really good
See, that's such an important point, because we get so task focused, but a lot of corporations, it's built on relationship.
Yeah.
And so that time to build the relationship saves you time down the road, right? So if I get to know you in that pre-meeting, I can pick up the phone and say, hey, see, I need your help on this.
Right.
And you're like, you're more willing to say, okay, I'll do that.
Right.
Well, and I think one of the things I'd add to that is, as a leader, what you realize, any gender, the more senior you get, people laugh at your jokes more, they pretend they're interested in your stories. And so one of the things you have to do as a leader is really look at the dynamics and see, is everyone participating, and not just have a bunch of people smiling at you because you're talking about Succession or something that you watched the night before. You have to pay attention to the dynamics, and you have to make sure that everyone is included, not just pretending they're interested in what you have to say.